2. Fuck! That dice is so fucking gay!
So I recently took a look at the lowest rated Marvel and MCU movies and discussed whether or not it deserved the rating it received. And I decided to do the same thing with DC movies. And like last time, I won't be including anything before the 2000s because comic book movies from the 80s and 90s are pretty easy to roast. And you don't really need me to tell you that Superman 3 and 4 aren't that good, along with the Joel Schumacher Batman movies, or hell, shit like Steel and Supergirl. So I'm only going to be including movies from the 2000s onward. So after doing some research, and by that I mean I googled it, I found a few lists and rankings for DC movies, and after looking through them, I found the 10 lowest rated DC films. And the contenders are Catwoman, Jonah Hex, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Green Lantern, Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, Justice League 2017, Red 2, Constantine, and The Losers. And just like before, I'm going to be going off my memory for some of these, because it's been a while since I sat down and watched them all. So they might actually be better than I remember, or maybe worse. Now later on in this video, I'm going to do something similar with the DCEU, but I'll talk more about that in a bit. But for now, let's take a look at the 10 lowest rated DC movies and see if they deserve their ratings.
It's Master Chef, not Master Bait.
First up is Catwoman, with a 9%. Yeah, this movie kinda sucks. Although Halle Berry is looking like a baddie, so it at least has that going for it. I'm not gonna lie, I've only seen this movie like 3 times in my entire life, and I feel like that was 3 times too many. It kinda got worse with each viewing. So yeah, 9%, sure, no argument from me. Jonah Hex. I actually didn't know this was technically a DC movie. There's actually a few movies like that on this list. I mean, the best thing I can say about this movie is that it has a pretty good cast. Josh Brolin, John Malkovich, Michael Fassbender, Michael Shannon, some really good talent. It's just a shame that they're all stuck in this movie. Oh yeah, Megan Fox is here too after she blew up from Transformers. But at 12%, yeah, sure, why not? Kinda sucks saying that because I like a lot of the actors in this movie, but the movie itself really isn't that good, and not really worth defending. Next is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with 17%. I mean, let's put it like this. The movie was so bad that Sean Connery retired from acting. Apparently the production was just a fucking mess, and he was so dissatisfied with the project that he just retired from acting. Although he also said he didn't like the way Hollywood was running things at the time anyway, so my guess is it kinda went hand in hand. Having a bad production with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and being overall dissatisfied with the product, as well as not liking the way things were being run in Hollywood at the time. Can't really say I blame him, honestly. This movie ended Sean Connery's acting career, and that is just unforgivable. Next is Green Lantern with 26%. The third film in what I consider Ryan Reynolds' terrible superhero trilogy, although I don't think it's the worst one. I actually featured in a video with Nerdy Before It Was Cool talking about Green Lantern, so I'll leave a link down below for you can check it out. But basically, I think that it's very underwhelming. It feels pretty basic and generic at times, with some CGI effects that look either pretty good or just absolutely terrible. And on top of that, you got some very boring and uninteresting characters and villains. And even though 26% is very low, I honestly can't see it going much higher. I guess in the 30 to 40% range. Like, at its best, it's just pretty basic and generic and predictable. But at its worst, it's on the same level as the shit you see on the CW. So yeah, Green Lantern, not good. Next is 2016 Suicide Squad with 26%. Now, I usually refer to this movie as Studio Squad because of the amount of interference from Warner Brothers, which I actually covered in a video called David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So check it out if you want to learn about a bunch of things that were changed in the movie and what was taken out and put in instead. But looking at the version of the movie that we actually got, I would say its rating is pretty on par. I mean, there are parts of the movie that I really do find enjoyable, but most of it I really don't enjoy that much. Especially the third act and the climax, I don't really like it at all. Yeah, so fuck this movie. Let me see David Ayer's cut instead.
Fuck Marvel!
Next is Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice with a 29%. Now, I've only ever seen the theatrical cut twice. I always watch the ultimate cut because that's like the intended version of the movie, and it's far superior, and personally one of my favorite comic book movies. But looking at just the theatrical version, I still think a 29% is rather low, and even without the extra 30 minutes from the ultimate cut, I would probably place it more so below average, probably in the 40% range. Although without that extra 30 minutes, it does feel rather confusing, and the whole movie overall just feels very choppy. So yeah, a little lower than where I would put it, but still isn't that good. Watch the ultimate edition instead. Next is the 2017 theatrical cut of Justice League with a 39%. I don't think there's a score low enough for this movie, although I will say this, it's watchable, I guess. That's all I really gotta say. Yeah, fuck this movie. Next is Red 2 with 44%. And personally, I enjoy this movie, although it's definitely not as good and fun and creative as the first movie. It's very similar to its predecessor, but it's not as funny and not as creative with its action sequences. So 44% really wouldn't be that far off. I mean, I would place it probably like right in the middle at 50. You know, it's enjoyable. It has its fun moments. John Malkovich is a blast, so that's great. Next up is Constantine with 46%. I actually made a video about this like a while ago, back in 2020. So check it out if you want my full thoughts. But for now, let me say this. I really like this movie. And I think it's a combination of like nostalgia and being a really big fan of Keanu Reeves. And also I really like the tie-in video game that came out at the same time. And plus, I really like these darker type of stories for comic book characters. Though it is pretty slow slow and the action is sparse, I still really enjoyed it and think it's a pretty solid movie. Not great, probably not good, but decent. And finally, there's The Losers with 48%. Just like Jonah Hex, this also has a really good cast. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Idris Elba, Chris Evans. And the idea and concept is pretty interesting, but the movie itself is kind of lackluster. When the action happens, it's alright, but the overall plot and story kind of loses steam as you go. Honestly, it probably could have benefited from an R rating, so that they could really push the violence. Personally, I would put it down further than Red 2, so right below average, so the rating's not too far off. So those were the lowest rated DC movies. And yeah, most of these ratings were pretty accurate, I would say. And an honorary mention goes to The Killing Joke, which is surprisingly DC's lowest rated theatrically released animated movie. Not really surprised. It's a pretty disappointing adaptation. Although it's not the worst animated DC movie, it's just that most animated movies don't get a theatrical release. Alright, time to move on to the DCEU. Although I'm not going to do exactly what I did with the MCU, because I can't really do the 10 lowest rated, because there's only like 12 DCEU movies in total. So instead, I'm just going to look at the ones that are considered rotten. And we've already talked about Suicide Squad, Batman vs. Superman, and the 2017 Justice League. So that only leaves us with two other movies that are considered rotten with mixed to low reviews. And those movies are Man of Steel and Wonder Woman 1984. The fact that Wonder Woman 1984 is higher than Man of Steel is a fucking crime.
How dare you?
But if you know me, then you already know I don't agree with the Man of Steel rating. And why is that?
Man of Steel is the best Superman movie, and I will fight anyone who doesn't think so. I'm serious. Motherfuckers think I'm playing.
I am the one, the way your son don't need.
Okay, calm down, tough guy. But no, I think it's great, and one of the best solo movies in the DCEU. Now, as for Wonder Woman, I actually watched it not too long ago, and I ended up disliking it even more than I did before, which I didn't think was possible. And I guess the nice thing I can say is, at least it has a style and creative vision that Patty Jenkins was going for, even if I think it sucks and it was just a rehash of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Yeah, I don't care for it. I'm just gonna keep pretending that it doesn't exist. Now, the highest rated DCEU movie is the first Wonder Woman with a 93. It's a good movie, but I think that's a little high, because judging from that rating, it means that it's on the same level as The Dark Knight, because they're only like 1% away from each other. This is one reason why I hate ratings. It's still a good movie though. And then Shazam and the Suicide Squad are second and third highest rated DCEU movies with 90% each. A little inflated, but I think they're both very good as well. Man, looking at all these ratings, pretty wild seeing all the different scores that these movies have gotten. It's just fucking all over the place, which I guess isn't too surprising because the quality is really all over the place. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, the highest rated DC movie overall is The Dark Knight, which really isn't that surprising. But then at number 2 is Richard Donner's Superman, which actually surprised me. I didn't think it would be number 2 out of every other DC movie. But anyway guys, that's gonna do it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, go and drop a like on it. And leave a comment, let me know, what do you think about all the ratings that these DC movies have received? Think the scores are too high? Think they're too low? Leave a comment, let me know. Thanks for watching. Watch your back.
Had a chance if they got Kevin Smith from the 90s, back when he had the juice to get Affleck in his movies.
Ew, wait. Didn't they make that Jersey Girl movie?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan, but Affleck was the bomb as Batman, yo.
Word, bitch! Batfleck like a motherfucker!
What's up now?